Have you ever wondered if there are unconventional ways to boost your energy that most people don't talk about, or most people wouldn't even do? What if I told you that there are what I call dark methods that can give you energy when you need it most? But I want to warn you, because they are not the healthiest or best long term. Now, what those are, why they could be considered dark, and if you should actually do them or not, or how often, is what I will tell you now. So are you ready to think outside the box and have something in the bag to have more energy when times are rough? Then let's start with the first one. Now, this first method in this video is something I actually sometimes do myself, but I also try to keep it low. It's definitely not healthy, but if you only do it sometimes, I think you can get away with it, and it just works. What I'm talking about is a caffeine overdose. Well, not literally an overdose, but maybe just a lot of caffeine. Caffeine blocks the neurotransmitter adenosine from binding to your receptors, but that adenosine makes you tired. So if you have caffeine, you don't get tired, which is why this just works. Again, it needs some balance, so I would really not do it too often. And also, it's not healthy. I'm just gonna say it. Again, if you only do it rarely, it might be fine, but don't overuse it. Personally, I try to drink about 2 big cups of coffee per day maximum. On rare occasions with an energy drink on top as well, but often in that case I might reduce the coffee intake. But right there, when I add the energy drink as well, it's already kinda pushing it. Now if I have 2 energy drinks as well, it's getting quite unhealthy. But you should also not be tired in this position.
A small price to pay for salvation.
So do with that what you want. I am not recommending you to do any of those 4 methods. Maybe the last one to some extent, but yeah, that's number 1. Don't do this more than twice a month, maybe less often. Alright, so that was dark method number 1. This next one is also quite interesting. Again, for this one too, do it too often and it probably quickly gets unhealthy. Sometimes, for short periods of time, it can work though. Although it is quite a dark method. Although maybe not the darkest on this list. But be careful. I'm talking about inducing adrenaline. Now, I'm not talking about literally dosing adrenaline into your system through a syringe or something like that. Reminds me of PUBG. You could take adrenaline in this game. But I don't mean it in that way. What I mean is to get your body in a state of high adrenaline. Again, I'm not claiming it to be healthy, but this gives you energy for sure. I will also be honest and say I rarely do this, or let's say if I do it, only to a small extent. So again, don't overdo it. But different ways of achieving this might be through extreme sport, like skydiving or bungee jumping. That probably works. Racing as well, although in a controlled environment, of course. Or maybe just standing on the sidelines of a dirt race. That's something I want to do one day. But when those cars pass by, I'd be shitting my pants. Those guys are crazy. The drivers, the coordinators, but the fans too. Look at this. Or more simply, high-intensity workouts like sprinting, for example, works too. Although, of course, it's a more safe variant, as well as cold exposure, like jumping into that cold lake in winter. And one more technique I will actually talk about later in this video. So let's move that to the end. Oh, and going into a lost place at night alone probably works too. Although that's probably not too practical. This next one though is a lot more practical. At least if you have the basics that are required for this. So maybe it doesn't work for you. And if it works for you, even then you may not like it. But it does work. Also, you can do it all the time, but the effectiveness will drop over time too. But the weird thing is you might be happy about that. Now what I'm talking about is looking at pics from your ex.
Oh, hell no!
This should give you some motivation. And motivation can be converted into energy. If it only makes you sad or too heartbroken, maybe do something else instead. Or maybe only use it in the gym, because that's usually where it works for most. Now there are 3 methods. First of all, just looking at pics from her just her, can work pretty well, but it's probably also the weakest method. Her with you, so if you've been in a relationship, just pics of you together, that can be pretty decent.
I mean, it's alright.
Or her with another guy. That shit is next level. But again, don't overdo it. Also, depending on you as a person and how you deal with this, it may work or may not work very much. So again, as with all the other methods, proceed with caution. This next method should work for you again, no matter who you are or if you've ever been in a relationship. This method also kinda abuses the adrenaline inducing again, although only when it becomes extreme. Actually, this method number 4 is something I do quite regularly too. And if you don't overdo it, it can actually make you healthier and can lead to higher testosterone too. So if it's balanced, it might not be a dark method after all. I'm talking about starving yourself. Again, in balance. Because overdo it and your adrenaline will go crazy, but just a little bit. And the exact time frame for that will of course vary, but let's say maybe up to 5 days can be quite energizing. Although if you constantly do it, it will make you tired because you lack nutrients or even just calories. But if you eat well, a healthy, good diet, and then you fast for some time, it can be very good for you. For example, it leads to autophagy, which literally repairs your damaged cells and makes you more efficient and healthier. But it also, yes, makes you more energetic. Again, it's about balance, but if you're well fed and then you fast, you will usually experience increased focus, increased alertness, and because of that, a bit higher mental energy too. Some people say you are in hunting mode, and after trying it myself, I get that. And you might not feel too energetic at first, but especially if you have some experience with fasting, even just intermittent fasting, or you eat a low-carb diet, because then you're not addicted to blood sugar spikes, it can really be good for you and also feel good. The first time I fasted for more than 24 hours, I couldn't fall asleep at night because I was too energetic. Again, that requires that you eat well beforehand, because if you're starving, of course, you won't feel more energetic. And also, again, don't overdo it, don't try this at home. Or maybe do, but be aware of the drawbacks, okay? To be honest, you should probably do other things instead. There are so many other healthy habits that don't risk your health, but actually improve it. What exactly I mean with that is something I recently made a video about, so you can watch that here. I think that's really the better way, but of course, that's gonna be up to you. Oh, over there. But for now, that's all for today's video. I hope it was at least a bit interesting because I really liked making this video. And if you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate a like, because then I might actually do a part 2 as well, because I have quite a few other ideas too. But for now, I just hope you have a great day, stay excellent, bye!